Welcome to Mind Your Mouth, the podcast where we explore the powerful connection between the mouth, mind, and body. I'm your host, Karen Galway, a speech therapist, board-certified orofacial and an infant feeding therapist, and I'm here to guide you through the essential but often overlooked world of oral development, infant feeding, and oral motor milestones. Each week, we'll break down the science, share real stories, and explore holistic, evidence-informed approaches to support your child's development. From myofunctional therapy to craniosacral work, primitive reflex integration, and beyond. Whether you're a parent, professional, or just mouth curious, you're in the right place. Let's ease the overwhelm and nurture growth, one breath, one bite, one word at a time. Welcome to the very first episode of Mind Your Mouth podcast, and I'm super excited to be here. This has been an idea of mine for a while, came out of and inspired by multiple conversations that I have with other professionals in the area of oral motor, oral function, infant feeding, functional therapy, and then conversations I have with parents. And I often hear, especially when I'm talking to parents, are, why doesn't everyone know this? Or more people need to know this. And so this is the intention of this podcast, is to get this information out. And so let's start a little bit about me, what to expect. So my name is Karen, and I've been a speech therapist for over 20 years and became a board certified orofacial myologist through the International Association of Orofacial Myology back in 2018. And I took my first myofunctional course back in 2015. Now, I do want to preface this by saying true traditional myofunctional therapy is for kids or human beings 4 years and up. When you're talking about under 4, it's known as more oral motor therapy. Or if you're talking about infants, it's infant oral motor, infant feeding. And the reason why that is because with myofunctional therapy, I'm having my patient, like the child that I'm working with, perform these certain exercises. And so they're something that they're doing on their own. An infant is not going to be able to do that. A lot of 3-year-olds probably going to need a lot more support from the therapist to be able to promote that. So that's where that distinction comes from. We often hear baby myo. It's not, with infants, it's not myofunctional therapy, it's oral motor, infant oral motor. But in any case, when you're talking about the oral structure, the oral function, whether it's from birth or I'm working with a 55-year-old patient, there are a lot of foundational milestones, or even just there's foundations there that apply throughout the lifespan. And that's the thing that I wanted to talk about, is what we do or how you support your child, how you support your infant's oral motor, oral function can set the foundation and put them on the right track for good speaking, eating, breathing skills. It's all connected. And that's the whole point of this podcast. Like I said, I've been a myofunctional therapist for 10 years. I've been doing myofunctional therapy for 10 years. And one of the things that we see when there's a myofunctional disorder and a muscle imbalance, an oral muscle imbalance, we see speech being impacted because it is the kind of the side effect of this muscle imbalance. And that's not necessarily talked about much when I went to graduate school for speech therapy. And so when you take a myofunctional approach to speech therapy, in my opinion and in my experience, a lot of these kids make great gains. So what I end up seeing over time was that these kids that were coming to see me 4, 5, 6, 7 years of age, when I look at the birth history, or even adults that came to see me in their 40s, when I look at the birth history, there was often a common theme amongst these individuals. And that theme was that there was some oral function challenges at the beginning. And so with infants, that would be breastfeeding, bottle feeding, like latching and feeding in general. Maybe they struggled with pacifier, maybe colicky, reflux. It was a whole body impact. And that's one of the things I want to get to in these episodes, is the impact of just the whole body in the mouth, how it all integrates. And so a lot of times it's like they might have had challenges with latch until 3-4 months of age, and they got better, but there was like a history with latch. And so what I got to thinking was like, these compensations, these challenges that were present at birth probably didn't go away per se. They didn't necessarily get better. Compensation occurred. And then if each time that the muscle changes or compensates with new compensation, and then eventually that compensation turns into speech errors. And so it does not consistently, not 100%, but that there is that pattern. And so I wanted to be able to understand and work with infants to be able to get at the beginning, to shape the oral function, oral structure, the dental facial growth, help create that foundation. And so that's when my practice started shifting more to with infants, and that was quite fascinating, which I want to be able to talk about as well. But I had a practice in Chicago for 10 years doing myofunctional therapy, infant oral motor, and I closed that practice almost a year ago to the day, and we moved to a different state. And so now I'm located in Middle Tennessee, about an hour, 45 minutes to an hour south of Nashville. And so just starting a practice here and getting the word out on the work that I do. I wanted to have a podcast where I can really dive into topics a little bit more, topics that I know can make a shift for parents, for professionals, go deep into it, have like long form content. I was recognizing and realizing that whenever I was posting things on social media, it's like, I wanted to be able to go deeper. I wanted to be able to dive deeper into this. And this is the birth of this podcast. So expect guests coming on where we're going to do deeper dives into understanding the mouth, body, mind connection. It's pretty incredible how everything is all connected, even from everything from reflexes, primitive reflexes, body tension, fascia, it's all connected. And sometimes it's connected in a way where what we're seeing is through that function. And so being able to address the function and the structure together. I'm also pretty obsessed, for those who know me quite well, I'm pretty obsessed with mindset and nervous system regulation. And so I'm probably going to be sprinkling some of that throughout my episodes, just because I think it's all connected. When we have a regulated nervous system, when we are feeling calm within our body, we'll have access to more clarity. We're able to have access to more logic, be able to make better decisions. And so when it comes to recognizing what's best to do for our child, there's one thing to have the information, but to be able to integrate that information, process that information, and move forward into the right direction, it's easy to make those decisions and those steps when we have a clear mind. And the other thing is, I think about this a lot, is that when, the subconscious mind, I'll get to the subconscious mind in a second, but with your identity, who you think you are, who you know to be true about yourself, is really shaped within your environment, and it's shaped within those first 7 years. So it's based on relationships you're around, conversations you've heard, maybe TV shows, teachers, your culture. So all these different aspects help shape the identity. And then that foundation and that filter is created. And then we end up having these experiences to confirm that filter and that identity even more. So if I'm working with a 9-year-old who has been working on speech sounds for a couple of years, maybe an R sound for a couple of years, which is not uncommon, or an 8-year-old has been working on for a couple of years, they've probably already created just ideas and perceptions about themselves based on their experiences. So I'm not a good talker. This is hard for me. I'll never be able to get it. How come I sound different from other people? Like whatever those ideas are. And so I think it's really helpful as a speech therapist to understand how the work that we do together is impacting their identity, their perception of self as we're moving through it. And so I think it's just really helpful to be able to have that understanding. And then also the other thing is, I'm a big advocate on mom gut, right? If you're a parent, if you're a mom listening to this, you know that when there's that sensation, that feeling, that knowing where something is off with your child, and then you go to maybe the doctor's office and the doctor does their cursory glance of what's going on and they say everything is fine. What I often say is when we have our mom gut and then we combine that with knowledge, we are unstoppable. It is powerful. It's one thing to go into a doctor's office and say, I think this is off. And then the doctor will be like, no, he's fine. But it's one thing to say, I think this is off. And here's why. Here's all the information that I have. It would be it's easier to advocate for your child with that information. So I want to be able to equip you with that information to know how to support your child, support your infant as you go through this journey. So that is it for this episode. You can follow me at Holistic Speech and Wellness on Instagram. And if you're local to Middle Tennessee and are wondering if infant oral motor or myofunctional therapy can work for your child, then go ahead and head to my website, which is holisticspeechandwellness.com. I will see you on the next episode.